Woohoo!
Says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. I guess we're live, guys.
All right.
I never saw the red button. I guess we're live.
Yeah, it says live. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hello, teachers. Hello, kids. Just want you to know that last week I was with author Jack Gantos and author Roland Smith, and we did it just for fun. We wanted to talk about our careers, show our books, talk about our writing process. And then, you know what happened? Over the weekend, I thought, the kids aren't in school yet. I'm not in school. I wish I was in school, but I'm not. And the teachers are doing remote learning, and we want to help the teachers out. So I thought, I'm going to get my author buddies to help me. And I have to be honest, I'm really proud of you guys. I called up David Bedricki. In 2 seconds, he said, yeah, I want to go online. I want to go live. And I talked to Stuart Murphy. He said, yeah, I want to go on. And I called up Mike Shoulders. He said, yeah. So yesterday or the day before, I called up Mike Artell. And how do I know Mike Artell? I'll tell you how. I started visiting schools in Alabama. And when I was in Alabama, the guy who was driving me around, this guy, Willie, he was driving me from school to school. We're selling books and selling books. And every day he'd say, yeah, I'm with you, Jerry, but next week I'm with Mike Artell. And then a week later he would go, yeah, next week I'm with Mike Artell. And then I'd go to some school in the middle of Alabama, in the middle of nowhere, and they'd say, Mike Artell, he was here last year, you know? So it took me a while. It took me like 5 years before I actually met Mike Artell. I was at a conference somewhere, and sure enough, I saw him. Guess what? He was my height, and he was bald, and he was the same width as me. And I found out he's of Italian descent. And I thought, he must be my brother, because everything matched. But he's from New Orleans, and I'm from Boston. So then years ago, I don't know how many years ago, 15 years ago, I was at a conference somewhere, and I ran into a guy named Steve Swinburne, and we hit it off right away. I don't know why we hit it off right away, but I think something happened, like they shut the lights off in the conference or something. We were just standing around. We couldn't do anything, and we started singing Beatles songs. So that was singing away with Steve Swinburne. And of course, over the years, he's tried to convince me that he's the missing Beatle, that there was John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Steve Swinburne, the missing Beatle. So anyways, these are my road buddies. We visit a lot of schools, thousands of schools between us, thousands. And I decided, hey, I'm going to get my road buddies on. So I was thinking of calling this the Traveling Author Guys. And then someone said to me, well, why don't you have girls on? Well, tomorrow we're going to have a girl on the show. So then someone said, I thought I'll call it America's Best Authors and Illustrators. Maybe that'd be a good name for the show. America's Best Authors and Illustrators.
I like the ring of that, don't you, Mike?
Yeah.
So guys, any name you can think of, you know, that would be good. I can just say that I was friends with Mary Alice. She's in the background. And Jamie, she's in the background. And I called them up one day and it says, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I've never been on Zoom before, but I decided we would try to give it a shot. So here we go. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jerry Pallotta. I'm a guy who writes color picture books. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. So isn't this an amazing technology? Okay, Mike Artell, where are you?
Yeah, I'm in New Orleans. And by the way, I think you're a little too modest. You don't just write color picture books. You've done chapter books. You've done all kinds of books. So
I did write a book of short stories. I don't think I'd call it a chapter book. The chapter book guys would probably take me down the street and
well, yeah, I'm in New Orleans, and Jerry and I did meet through that mutual friend, and I think it was at the Literacy Compass too. We did some of that, and and so over the years, you know, we see each other at conferences. I don't think we've ever been to a school visit like an author's day or anything together, but it's fun. It's fun to Jerry and I have. I wouldn't say we have the exact same sense of humor, but we have complementary senses of humor. So it works. Plus, we're also big football fans, so that for our respective teams. So it's always fun to do that. And I'll tell you something about Jerry that I felt a kinship with Jerry in a way that I don't with most other authors, because we have a kind of a similar background in that we didn't get started. We weren't college majors in English or something like that. We were business guys. Both of us came out of the business world after college, and mainly on the sales end, I guess, on the marketing end. And I don't know if Jerry would like to talk about this later on, but I really believe that had I not had a background in sales and marketing, I wouldn't have been able to make a living doing this, because when I started writing and illustrating children's books, I took a very different approach than I know a lot of people do. I was
sort of true. I was always sales oriented from being an insurance guy. So I just love selling books. I love selling books. I love selling books. And people always say to me, you spend too much time selling books. And I thought, well, I wouldn't have a career if I didn't try to sell books.
You used a term the other day that I use a similar term all the time. You said you were looking for spaces, and I call them gaps. I asked teachers, I didn't just write out of my own inspiration. I would go to teachers and librarians and say, what kind of books do you need? And they would say, boy,
Right.
We could use some more simple biography. So I'd go home and write some simple biography. And so, so I was looking for.
That happened to me. A teacher said to me, we really need a kid's book about algebra. And I started writing it. It really hasn't gone anywhere. But another teacher told me, we need a kid's book about adding fractions. So I wrote a book adding fractions. That's what I mean by empty space. Like, I never saw a book of spices and flavors. So I wanted to write a book of spices and flavors.
Right. Now, we both have interests, especially science. We both like science. Whereas Steve, he writes so much out of his own passion, his own inspiration, it seems to me, that he's so passionate about conservation and taking care of animals and ecology, and I don't want to speak for him, but he's so passionate.
You're doing a great
that
job.
when he writes, I'm sorry.
You're doing a great job. Keep going.
So, but it's obvious, and I don't want to say that when I write, I don't feel passionate about it. It's just that I try to write great books, but I'm always thinking of the marketing side. Always.
Hey, you know what I thought? Show us some of your covers right now. Show us some of the covers. Yeah. You have any books around you?
I have only one book, but Petite Rouge. There it is.
Petite Rouge. Is that your very first book?
Oh, no, man. I didn't bring my very first book was, and it came out of talking to somebody, and they said, we need some simple concept books for kids. So I did a book called When I Say. Now stay with me on this, because you got to stay with me on the language. It goes like this. When I say yes, my head goes. And when I say no, my head goes, right? Cuando digo sí, mi cabeza hace, right? Cuando digo no, right? And then yo no sé. So I did that, and then I did colors and shapes, and it kind of evolved. So you're just looking for those little gaps. Just like
I've heard people call you a Cajun author.
Yeah.
Do you feel, is that a good description?
No, I mean, no more than somebody who lives in Minnesota would be a Norwegian author. My mom grew up in Cajun country, and my dad, she spoke some French. My dad grew up near there as well. But just like any port city, just like Boston or San Francisco, port cities tend to be a melting pot, a big gumbo, as we would say down here, of different cultures. So I have a lot of Italian. My paternal grandparents came over from Sicily, but my maternal side is Austrian. So my mom grew up in Cajun country, so I heard a lot of that growing up. But I wouldn't say, I can't claim Cajun heritage, but by osmosis, I've picked up.
Tell us some of your titles. Tell us some of your titles.
Well, there's Petite Rouge, and then there's Jacques and the Beanstalk, Jacqueus, Jacques and the Beanstalk, and then Three Little Cajun Pigs. And I really actually stopped there because you know how publishers are, and we could talk about crazy publisher stories, but publishers tend to pigeonhole you, you know. And so I didn't want to get pigeonholed into the Cajun books. So
Yeah.
I've written about 45 books, and only 3 of them are Cajun books, but those are the ones that the big sellers. And so, I thought about doing some other Cajun. I thought about doing a Cajun Aesop's Fables, but kids don't know Aesop's Fables anymore. So I'm not sure would it have any traction. So
Could you do a Cajun ABC, Mike?
there are a couple of those already. A is for alligator, that kind of thing.
Right.
And and by the way, that's something else. And Steve, I'm only focusing on Jerry because these things hit me so big, but I want to talk about you some more too. But the idea that, Jerry has done so many, who would win books. But the magic to me of what Jerry did there was, look, how many books have there been on sharks, right?
Right.
There's a million shark books.
Right.
Nobody wants another shark book.
Right.
But with
Hey,
Jerry,
thanks for telling me, because I just finished the Ultimate Shark Rumble.
no, no, but that's okay. That's okay, because what you did what a marketer does. You said, what other take could I give on this book?
Well,
And so-
what I agree. Like, what I love
Who
is
would win? Who would win is brilliant.
yeah. What Jerry did there was he had a hook. He
Yeah.
hooked the kids in with that beautiful compare and contrast throughout the book, and at the end we have the final conclusion. Who's going to win the battle, and it doesn't really matter. I think I might have mentioned to Jerry a long time ago. A lion and a tiger, they don't even exist on the same continent. But at that point, it doesn't matter, because what you've done, you've learned so much about lions throughout the book. You've learned all this stuff about tigers. And it's just this kind of fictional battle, which works out in the end, which is great.
Right.
Like, I think we should have a
Kids say that to me.
3 authors.
Kids say that to me. They'll say, like, the secretary bird lives in Africa and the rattlesnake lives in North America.
Right.
How did they meet?
Yeah.
I always say they met in Las Vegas, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good answer.
We're not going to talk about it. Right?
Yeah.
No, but the thing too, I did a book a long time ago called 10-Second Tongue Twisters. And the reason I called it that was because I know boys, okay? Boys, and okay, I'm going to make a generic statement. Please don't think I'm, making, I know it's a sweeping generalization, and I know there are exceptions. But what I'm saying is, in the middle of the bell curve, boys are very competitive. They tend to be very competitive. And one of the ways to hook a boy is to challenge him. Okay. A lot of people think that you can coax him and convince them. You want to motivate a boy, you challenge him. Okay. And so I called it 10-Second Tongue Twisters, not only because it's alliterative, but because I know what a boy is going to do. If he says the tongue twister 3 times in 10 seconds, he's going to try to say it 3 times in 9 seconds. And then he's going to try to say it 3 times in 8 seconds. And so the book stays fresh that way because they're trying to do it faster and faster. It's not even the content that matters so much. It's the presentation.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
anyway. And that's what Jerry did with the Who Would Win.
So you're in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts. Amazing technology. Steve, where are you?
I'll turn the computer around, and I'm in my office in a New England state. I'll give you a little hint before we tell you. I'm about 3 hours. If I got in my car, I would get to Jerry's condo in about 3 hours, depending on traffic. I would be driving from a higher elevation to a lower elevation because I'm in the mountains of Vermont. So I'm in Vermont, and we're about 1,100 feet up here. It's still pretty cool outside. And Jerry's down at the sea level right there in Boston, near the Boston Harbor.
And I'm below sea level.
And you are below. It's nice knowing you, Mike, because in a couple of years, I may not be seeing you. Hope you got your...
Mike, I have this one question for you New Orleans guys.
Yeah.
Does intelligent life build below sea level?
What about it?
Does intelligent life build below sea level? Now I'm going to get in
Yeah.
trouble.
Smarts aren't everything, Jerry. Yeah. Well,
It's when
go ahead, Swinny.
Oh, so yeah, no, I'm in Vermont. I think it's great. The technology is phenomenal here. I'm checking. We've got Chicago, Nebraska joining in. Canada is watching live. New Orleans is watching. So with this remote learning, we're able to connect with so many different people. And just a shout out, are we talking about books yet, Jerry?
yeah, let's go.
Okay. I write a lot of nonfiction. I was a park ranger. I was a National Park Service ranger. Just to back up a little bit, I met our dear friend Jerry back at Keystone State Reading in Pennsylvania 20 years ago. And he and I have remained friends forever. We sing Beatles songs together when we're on the road. We harmonize. And one of my favorite times I've ever had with Jerry is said, "Come lobstering with me." I can't do that Boston accent, Jerry. So we're going lobstering, and we're going down there to the harbor, and he shoves me out there with his son. And we had the most amazing time capturing lobsters. You remember? I mean, Jerry and I brought back, I don't know, 10 lobsters back to Vermont, which took 3 hours. So we have a lot of fun lobstering together. But just very briefly, I love nonfiction, and I think Mike is right. What drives me as a National Park Service ranger, and I worked at Cumberland Island National Seashore in Georgia and a couple of other places around the country, is that the natural world I love. I mean, I know Mike and I know Jerry love the natural world, but for me, it's a major passion. And my brand new book, and which is actually my third sea turtle book. The first one I wrote in 1999, and I'm pleased to say it's still in print, Turtle Tide, about a mother loggerhead sea turtle coming up to lay her eggs on the beach. The second one is called Sea Turtle Scientist, about a scientist who is trying to save the leatherback sea turtle, the most endangered sea turtle on the planet. And just this month, a new book came out called Run, Sea Turtle Run, A Hatchling's Journey. You guys probably know the difference between a photo illustrated book and an illustrated book. Now, I'm not an illustrator. Mike, you're an illustrator, but I don't illustrate my own books. So for both of these books, while I'm the writer, we had to get other people to get the art. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's a beautiful illustrated book or with photographs. In this particular book, there's a wonderful photographer. I'll give him a shout out, Guillaume Fulet, who was from South America. And he managed to get these incredible photographs of these hatchlings dashing to the sea. You guys probably know that these little guys usually make it down to the ocean at night. Can you think about why they do that at night? Less predators. But he managed to get this dash of these hatchlings probably in the morning, maybe it was early evening. I didn't ask him, but the light on what he got here was just magnificent. So you can have a lot of fun with books deciding whether it's going to be illustrated with real photographs, and I know a lot of you guys like the real photographs, or whether it's going to be illustrated with art.
Beautiful.
Hey, Jerry, I want to show
I've
you.
read that books.
I want to show you something real quick. I just realized I just got these. Hang on, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
These just came out, but this is these came out this week, and it's right near you. So I wanted to show you. Basketball Hall of Fame. Let's visit the
Wow.
Basketball Hall of Fame. Have you been there?
Springfield, Vermont. Springfield, Connecticut.
Yeah, Massachusetts.
I
Massachusetts.
have not been there. I've driven by it. I know what it looks like.
It's a big
Yeah, it looks like a big basketball. Yeah. So, man, I'd love to go. I mean, I talked to people there and got some video and some photographs, and the publisher did a lot of that too. But man, I'd love to go to that place and see that. And it looks like a lot of fun. So, anyway, those came out this week. I got a Michael Jordan book.
Wow.
Another cartooning book. So,
Did you ever get to talk to Michael?
I did. You know what, though? I have to tell you, I've only had not really an encounter, but a little overlap with one guy. And Drew Brees, actually, after they won the Super Bowl, he wrote a book. But he talks about Petite Rouge. in his book. He talks about buying it
Wow.
when he moved to New Orleans. Yeah, that he bought my book and
What was that third book? There was the basketball. What did I see? The basketball.
cartooning,
Hall of Fame.
cool cartoons you can draw. And
Wow.
basketball Hall of Fame and Michael Jordan. So
Wow.
they're little books, you know. So, but it's fun. So
Good work.
yeah, thanks. So, so you're up,
Um,
Jerry.
What's that?
You're up.
I didn't have much to say today. Just going back a little about those Who Would Win books. You know what I tell kids? I tell kids I tricked them. That's what I say.
You tricked
It
him.
looks like there's a fight, but I tricked you into reading a compare-contrast book. I tricked
Right.
you into reading a science book.
Yep.
So
Getting all
that's
the
what I
facts.
tell the kids. So I don't know if that's what makes it work really well, but that was the idea, to get them to read, get them to read. But there's no fight till the end of the book, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever hear about kids jumping to the end, trying to find out who would win, then go back and maybe finding,
Yeah.
learning the
Every
facts?
now and then a librarian tells me about one kid who sneaks in and looks at the end and then runs back out of the library. Yeah.
Tells everybody.
Yeah. I don't know if he tells everybody or if he just acts like he read the book. Maybe
Right.
maybe he did something like that, you
Right.
know?
But
So,
guys, let me ask you, Jerry, because and you too, Swinny. I mean, because
we could all ask, why don't we do this? Let's all ask each other questions right now. Okay, go.
yeah, okay. This is for both of you guys. I'm always amazed when I walk into like Book Expo or Library Association conferences, all these big literacy conferences and book conferences, and I just stand there and look around and say, my gosh, there are literally probably 1 million books in here, and how does somebody choose? How does a librarian, how does a teacher, just a casual recreational reader, what makes somebody buy a book or want to incorporate? And granted, I understand that sometimes the library has a need. They don't have enough of this kind of book or that kind of book. But generally speaking, there are just so many books. What do you guys? How do you feel about? I mean, what are your thoughts about just the amount of books being published every year?
I can say that the first time I went into Book Expo, I was like, I couldn't believe all the titles. And I thought, wow, am I in the wrong business? Do I have the wrong job? There was so many titles. I thought, how could I ever get anyone interested in my books?
Right.
It's really amazing.
And well, for me, how I try to handle that, Mike, which is a great question, is I try to let go of this competition business and not worry about what other people are doing around me, but just focus on my passion, my message, what I want to talk about. Because if your passion drives you and the heart of the story drives you, that's where you're going to find an audience. But I think if you start thinking, well, oh boy, that guy just did a book on sea turtles, and that guy just did a book on, and she just did a book on sea turtles. My book, how am I ever going to do a book on a sea turtle? Well, I've got 3 books on sea turtles. And I think what drove me was just finding a hook, finding a storyline, having that beautiful arc, that beginning, middle, and end, and working on great verbs, great details, and letting that just sit out there and doing its thing.
And you love turtles, which is perfect.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, if you like Jerry, he loves the ocean. So I think his first book was his lobster book. And that's the thing. You've got to bring a love to this, like a love of where you live, like Mike does in that Cajun area, or where Jerry lives in the ocean. For me, it's.
Yeah, I think I figured out I've written 20 ocean books.
Yeah.
20 ocean themed books. Hey, we got a few. We just learned that Chicago's watching us, Nebraska's watching us, Canada's watching us. Thank you. New Orleans is watching us. And we have a question here from Craig.
Yeah.
And the question is directed to Steve. It says, Steve, is there an age range of youth who like photo illustrations best from your experience?
That's a great question, Craig, but my feeling is it can go from the youngest kid all the way up to older kids. I've got an example. I've got some really young, but this is a book for, like pre-K and K and 1 with photographs, all about a butterfly. And I have these concept books, which have photographs, whether it's shoes or zebra patterns, as is my Run Sea Turtle Run book. Now, I would classify these as all of real young, like K1, 2, but kids who are in 5th, 6th, 7th grade still like photographs. So there's my black bear book. There's the sea turtle book that I showed you before. So I don't think there's a real age limit. Like you can't say K to 3 just love photographs. Kids love, as they call it, real pictures. They want to see real pictures. And this new book I'm working on called Giraffe Math is going to have a combination of illustrations and some photographs. Great question.
Steve, if I could just add something onto that, I see kind of an analog to that in drawing. You know, I show kids how to draw a lot of times, okay? And what I find is somewhere around 5th or 6th grade, when I'm showing, and you know, I'm a cartoonist primarily. Yeah. So we're drawing cartoons. Somewhere around 5th or 6th grade, they don't want to draw cartoons as much, with the exception of manga and anime. But what they want then, they want photorealistic. They want their guys who have muscles to look like they really have real muscles. And they start to slip over into that realistic drawing. Sure. And so that's where so many kids drop off. You know, they can't do that, or they don't want to spend the time to learn how. And so they quit drawing. And so most people, I bet most adults, you know, they don't draw any differently than they did when they were 10 or 12 years old because they stopped, you know. Yeah. So it's the same thing with photographs versus illustrations. Right. That's the cusp. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, did you draw a picture of me back there?
Well, I should have taken that down, Jerry. And look, this was, well, it wasn't live. It was taken from a photograph. So, but I don't know. I should have taken that down. I'm sorry.
Thank you for doing.
I didn't do one for you.
I always wondered what I look like.
I didn't realize how handsome you were, Jerry.
Yeah, it's
by the way,
similar. It's almost like
that first book you showed with the caterpillar on it.
Yeah.
Show that book. They call that size of book a reader.
Yeah.
A reader. That's a reader, right? So the Who Would Win books are readers.
And it's level. This is like level 2, and again, it's It's all about this butterfly. You guys know what this butterfly is. That's called the monarch butterfly that we need to plant a lot of milkweed for. Back up in Vermont, and Mike, you're probably in the midst of a monarch migration where you are. They've overwintered in Mexico. They're now moving up. The adults are laying eggs on the milkweed, and as they move further and further and further north, we're going to start seeing these butterflies probably, I don't know, maybe another month or so. So
I have to tell you, I'm on the lookout for the swallowtails.
Yeah,
because they are after my citrus trees, and I can't have that. I can't have that. So I have to remove their little guys when I see them.
Nice. Be nice, be kind.
They can have a little, but they can't have all of it.
All right.
Yeah.
So when I was on the road signing books and visiting schools and talking to teachers, I learned that these guys have a couple of other skills that I thought we might share. So I don't know who wants to go first. I think how about Mike?
No, Steve.
Not Mike. I mean Steve. How about Steve? You go first.
Well, guys, I don't know if you know what this is, but it's not a guitar. A guitar has 6 strings. Let's count. Are you ready, guys? Do this with me. Hold up a fist, Jerry, and count with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you guys do that? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a ukulele, or sometimes called an ukulele.
Ukulele.
And Mike, where's your ook?
I have my ook right here.
Here's a song which you might recognize. It's got 2 chords, and it's a very famous song. Probably every kid in America, around the world, actually knows this. It was published in 1939, written by Verna Hills, called "The Wheels on the Bus." We'll give a couple little choruses. Here we go. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round, all through the town. The wipers on the bus go swish, 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 swish. The wipers on the bus go swish, 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 all through the town. Take it, Mike.
Hey,
Hey,
That's my
get the whole family in there.
that's right. Good job,
Okay.
guys.
Hey, Steve, I got one for you.
Yeah, go.
I have to find a key. Okay, I'm going to start this song. You've never heard it before, but by the 5th word, you'll be singing it with me.
Okay. What are you in, G?
Don't eat worms. Don't eat
Worm.
You get
Worm.
Stick.
germs
Worm.
if you
Eat.
Eat.
Worm.
right. All right. Don't eat Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
Don't eat Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Rexes.
Right. They're big, like Texas. So don't
Eat.
Eat.
Tyrannosaurus. It goes on and on, but you get the idea.
Woo!
All right.
Nice.
So,
Well, I was trying to think of what else we could do. Maybe go back to the books for a minute.
Sure.
By the way, I love that. That was great. And for you fans out there that like to laugh, Steve wrote a song with his ukulele called Poopalele,
ooh,
but that's for another day, I think.
Yes, another day.
So, I was thinking about you two guys. Maybe you could tell a couple stories of where some crazy book idea hit you, just like hit you, like you're walking down the street and you're like, "Whoa, I should do that." Or you're reading a book and you're like, "Whoa," you know? And I could tell a couple stories. One story would be Roland Smith sent me a picture of a kid riding an elephant to school.
Huh.
So he was in Burma. He was researching a book, and he took a picture of a kid riding his elephant to school. The average family does not own an elephant, but this family did. So he sent me the picture and he goes, "Look at this. Isn't this unbelievable?" So I wrote a book called How Will I Get to School This Year? So there is where a book idea came from. One of my author buddies sent me a photo, and I got the idea like that.
It's amazing. I'll share one with you guys. This was years ago, probably a decade ago, and I'm doing the dishes like a good husband. My wife Heather had made a beautiful meal, so I'm cleaning up the dishes, got the radio on, and all of a sudden the announcer comes on and says they've approved a plan to reintroduce wolves into Yellowstone National Park. And I looked up and I said, "What?" And the radio announcer said, "Yes, Steve, they've approved a plan to
oh,
bring wolves." And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And the guy says, "No, Steve, we're not kidding you." But anyway, what came from that one radio bit was a book I wrote. I went out to Yellowstone, I did research, and it's called Once a Wolf, How They Brought Wolves Back into Yellowstone, which is a big controversial issue.
yeah.
But sometimes, guys, it's just a matter of, as we all do we have a little notebook with a pen? Are our ears and eyes open, waiting for those little ideas because you never know when they're going to come in, and you've got to be prepared for them.
I'll tell you mine. This was a long time ago, but my younger daughter, we have two daughters, and our older daughter is about 5.5 years older than the younger. And our younger daughter came in, and one day I was working, and she came in and said, "Boy, Dad, there's this really weird kid in my class." And she started telling me about this little boy. And then later on, she was talking to her sister, and she says, "Stephanie, you're acting really weird." And I said, "Wow, that's twice. She's used that. She hadn't been using that little phrase." Excuse me. So I started noticing it, and she was using it. So I said, I'm going to write a book, a really weird book. And so I said, I'm going to do some animals. And so what I did was I started sketching out some animals, and but I didn't try to make them weird. What I did was I took regular animals and started putting them together.
Oh, that's cool.
I would have a giraffe's neck and a fish's body and caterpillar's legs and things like that. And then I said, okay, where would you find really weird animals? And I said, well, where do you find any animals? And, I said, well, the pet store. The Really Weird Pet Store. And so I wrote a trilogy of books, The Really Weird Pet Store, The Really Weird Jungle, and The Really Weird Planet.
That's very cool.
That just came out of that one little phrase like that. So
listening to dialogue sometimes is a wonderful way to get ideas for books.
Yeah. And kids, especially, we do so many school visits.
Right.
That when you're talking to kids, they'll tell you, they'll just say things, expressions, or, I remember the first time I was drawing, and I drew something, and it was deathly quiet, but kids were drawing with me. And then one kid said, "That is sick." And it was a compliment,
right?
But I didn't know that at the time. So it's funny. If you keep your ears open, you'll get ideas.
I'll never forget the time I just finished a big assembly, and I always like to stand next to the door with my ukulele and have the kids touch it and stuff. And one kid looks up to me, I think this might have been fourth grade. He looks at me, he goes, if this children's book thing doesn't work out for you, you could be a stand-up comic. I said, thanks, kid.
Good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. There's something to fall back on. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny because a kid said to me, "You're not an author, you're a chameleon."
That's great. I love it.
All right.
Right, he was.
Now, these guys have great talents. They're fun to be with. Someone told me that Mike is going to draw for us.
Oh, nice.
Am I going to draw?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do that. I'll draw something here. So let's go to, let's see. Let's go to that. Do you see a white screen?
While you're drawing, I'll tell one. While you're getting set up, I'll tell one more story about where a book idea came from. When my kids were little, I took them to the flower show in Boston.
Right.
And you don't have to bring your kids to Disney World. All you have to do is bring them to the boat show, the flower show. And they think it's Disney World, right?
Yeah.
So I was just walked around. I never saw a flower alphabet book, so I wrote a flower alphabet book. I got the idea from just wheeling my kids around, looking to see if someone had written a flower book, and there you go.
Okay.
Book ideas everywhere.
Can you see what I'm drawing?
No.
Oh, you can't?
Turn on your screen.
Yeah, I did. All right, hang on.
Click on your screen. It says share screen.
Okay, so I'm going to share that one. How about now?
There it is. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. There we go. By the way, Mike, thank you for sharing your talents.
Oh man, thanks for inviting me. This is great fun. I don't get to see you guys very often.
That's an alligator. No, that's a crocodile. That's a gator.
It is. Most people don't realize that when we're at conferences and all together, we're all doing presentations. We hardly ever get to talk.
I know.
After hours that.
Hey, Mike, is that a retired gator?
Is that a Jerry gator? It's a little fat.
That's a gator that's well fed.
That's right.
Those guys look tasty. We better run.
There you go. So anyway, there you go, guys. That's enough of that silliness. Yeah. All right.
That's very cool.
All right. Yeah. Anyway.
I just got a text from my son-in-law. He said, Jerry should not be giving Zoom advice.
That's probably a very
Go on.
smart thing of your son-in-law. Who was that?
It was Matt.
And who could forget him?
Yeah, such a great guy. He was such a great guy.
No, the families can be tough on you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing that fortunately, I have family members who sometimes I'll be working on a project and I'll show it to them and they'll look at me and go, yeah, that looks okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like, wait a minute, this is great. And it's like, well, it's not great. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you try, but
Wow.
kids
Well,
think
for
that
years-
authors just write a book, but it's like, as we all know, it's rewriting and redrawing and rewriting and redrawing.
I used to love to read stuff to my mother-in-law because she just thought I was the best author in the entire world. She said, "Oh, Steve, that's so beautiful," and everything that I wrote,
Yeah.
adored. A lot of those books have been rejected, by the way.
So look, when you guys get it, I mean, we all get approached by people and they'll say, what advice do you have for me? And I'll give you my standard answer. Whenever I say, I'll give you my advice. Here it is. Publishing is a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's about all I can say. Publishing is a business. And unless your friend's name is Simon or Schuster, you shouldn't show your stuff to your friends because it doesn't matter. You could show them your grocery list and they would say it's wonderful,
Right. Right.
So, you have to, publishers almost never come to your door.
Right.
You have to send it out and you have to get rejected a lot.
You do.
But-
Well, you know what I think? I think that
I'm glad you brought up rejections, Mike. This book was rejected 37 times. You know
Wow.
why? No one wanted another Wolf book. They said,
Uh-huh.
"Oh no, we've got enough Wolf books." But I was so fortunate that timing was right because Houghton Mifflin had just started a new series called Scientist in the Field, and I happened to be there at the right time. So
Perfect.
a lot of times it's like your timing.
Yeah. It really is because people have to realize that publishers get thousands and thousands of submissions every
Right.
year, and they publish a few dozen books.
Right.
So they know they're leaving great books on the,
Yep.
but they just can't publish everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one of the reasons self-publishing has gotten so much more popular now too.
Yeah.
you guys are great. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
I'm sure we'll do it again. We'll think.
All right, guys.
We'll think of
All
some
right,
more
all right.
subjects and maybe next time I'll make you guys read one of your books.
Be
Yeah.
fantastic. Would love to
That'd
do
be
it.
fun. I'd like to hear you guys read. That'd be fun.
You can read some of your books. I want to learn about Louisiana.
I love gumbo.
We'll tell you all about it. Come down here. I'll come up lobstering. You come down here. We'll go red fishing. You too, Steve.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. I think the last time the three of us were together, we did some amazing Beatles harmony. So maybe the next time we do this, we can have a song ready and prepared.
Legends in our own mind.
We
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Okay. So guys, this is how we end this. How do we do it? What do we do?
We all say goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
See you
Thank you,
later.
Kim.
See y'all later.
Thank you, Louisiana. Thank you, all the teachers. Hey, all you teachers out there, we're just going to keep doing these shows. We know the kids are home. It's driving their parents crazy. We know we all would rather be in school. We're just going to keep doing them. Hopefully, they'll give you a few extra hours or a few minutes of joy. You'll learn a little bit about publishing. You'll learn a little bit about all these great authors in America. I couldn't tell you how great it is to hang out with Steve Swinburne or to hang out with Mike Artell. And thank you guys for coming on. You guys are great.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you.
See you later.
Care.
Bye-bye.